Hey, this is Zeklog the Great, and I am here tonight with Chris
Hello.
and Nate,
It's me again, Margaret.
and we are here tonight to discuss a monologue from William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. It's the one that has the I don't know. I think it's the second. Clearly the most famous quote from this play is "Friends, Romans, countrymen," which is also another one that probably most people don't really understand what's going on there if they haven't paid a lot of attention to the play. There's "Friends, Romans, countrymen, the fault is not in our stars," and there's "Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war," and this is that one. So,
Not a monologue, though, a soliloquy.
what's the difference?
Monologue is I'm talking to someone else so that they will know something. A soliloquy is I'm kind of by myself, talking to myself for my own benefit.
Ah, okay. So
But he is addressing someone. They just happen to be dead.
just slightly dead at
I
the
would say
time.
your humanity ends at the point, of expiration.
He's
Hence his reference to, "Oh, thou bleeding piece of earth."
Well, wait, but what if he was mostly dead, which is slightly alive?
I'm going to go ahead and hazard a guess that at this point he was at least as good as dead. There's a somewhat stern shanking going on there.
Yeah, it was how many people were in on this, and each of them had to stab him once. It was 15 or 20 people.
Got a couple of dozen stab wounds. People have survived worse.
It's well, if they're stabbing you in the limbs, perhaps, but they were probably going for the torso in general. Um,
You got to be from deep into the gene pool to make it out of that.
or what's his name? Russian guy. Oh, Christ.
Rasputin?
Rasputin, yeah. Although I've heard some people say that the accounts of his uh, disturbing survival of multiple assassination methods are exaggerated to make him seem creepier. But it's still a great story. I mean,
Oh, yeah. The guy that was, told the story was just kind of trying to be like, yeah, I was there. I helped kill that badass. How awesome am I? It's a bit of inflation for propaganda purposes.
and
Even
the
this.
fish was this big. So, Nate, would you like to start off with any particular thoughts? What's your big impression on this one? Hello?
He was impressed.
Yeah, I think you cut out, so we didn't actually hear what you had said, Nate.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, Nate, if you'd like, what was your big impression? Would you like to start off?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry, I thought you said Chris. Uh, I must give myself excuses here. I had my wisdom teeth out yesterday, so if I'm a little
Oh,
bit,
ow.
yeah,
Okay, that's not great.
I'm down on calories and up on pain pills. No,
First,
just if I ever rise to ultimate power and then get like just madly skewered by a bunch of my my erstwhile brethren and allies, I hope one of you at least is up to the task of whipping out some crazy vengeance in my name and giving rise to such brutality that women would smile to see their babies quartered.
I'm not sure I have the rhetorical skill to pull that off. I mean, I think I'm better than average, but that is probably an order of magnitude better than me. So, um,
I'll just take this and change the language around a little bit. No one will notice.
That works.
regrettably, probably true.
Heh,
Yeah, Yell bad stuff and release the cats of combat.
What was I was
Well, I mean,
just
it's not this part that stirred the people. This is just his, promising that there will be a reckoning for what was done. Then again, I'm not terribly ambitious.
well, it's let's see. Brutus said that he was ambitious, and if it were so, it were a grievous fault. The I was just thinking regarding what Nate said earlier. Maybe we should change this series up a little bit and make it discussing poetry while high.
You're gonna have to give me some time on that one, boys. I still got a year under regs where I'm absolutely not allowed.
Well, I was just thinking since you're already on pain pills, at the moment at least.
Right now, it's just Motrin. It's Motrin, or no, it's ibuprofen and naproxen. I haven't had to take the oxycodone yet.
So how many did you have out, by the way?
Just two.
Okay.
Go overbite. They said that the two on top wouldn't need to come out because they actually connect with the molars in front of the ones that they were taking out. So, woo.
But I have to say one thing that really impressed me with this, and I noticed this about the other I did one of the other monologues from Julius Caesar earlier, where Cassius was talking to trying to talk Brutus into killing Caesar. And one thing I find just fascinating about these is how quickly Shakespeare is able to move you through like so many emotions so intensely. Because like there's like in this one, like there's sorrow, then there's just anger, and then there's almost like going into a trance, kind of like transcendent rage, and then like at the end it goes back to just basic mourning, and it's not like it's like 200 syllables. It's a couple hundred syllables, and he does all that, and it's like, how do you do all this? That's amazing.
Well, I mean, once your historical epithet becomes the bard, you got to expect some pretty intense skills there. But I mean, Anthony also knows he doesn't have a whole lot of time. I mean, this soliloquy, he's got like a couple of minutes to pick himself up and get himself ready, and then he's got to go and talk for his life in front of everyone. So you kind of mashes the gas a little bit on your internal thought life there.
This is also, and I have to admit, and I feel a little embarrassed saying this in this context, I haven't reread the whole play recently. I have read the whole play, but it was
high school.
No, it was college, which is still almost 2 decades ago, and now I feel old. But it is interesting, like knowing there's a history podcast series I love to listen to, and I'm probably going to put a link in the description for this. It's called Hardcore History by Dan Carlin, and he has a series where he talks about how the Roman Republic became the Roman Empire, and this is like these events are actually towards the end of that process, as he describes it, and like putting this speech and this play in that context is even more interesting than just the play by itself. Because like for one thing, like towards the end, Mark Antony is like, and Italy's going to be torn apart in this horrible civil war, and it's going to be like nothing anyone has ever seen before. But like if the history of the late Roman Republic, it's been it's been horribly bloody, like for a long time now. Of course, now that I think about it, if I recall correctly, most of that was actually confined to the city of Rome itself. Like the civil war aspect of it was more or less what was going on inside the city. And then after these events, it breaks out into full scale war, across all of Italy and, even somewhat beyond. So that is that changes things significantly. So Chris, what did you have anything you wanted to throw in here?
Not particularly. I'm not very familiar with the play or the history for that matter. So it's definitely impressive, but I don't have the context to do much with it.
Well, you do know what is going on at this particular moment, though, right? Like, what.
I know Caesar's just been killed and Antony is there. That's about all I know.
Okay. All right. So sure, why not? So yeah, Caesar has been murdered. Mark Antony is obviously a great friend of his, and the people who killed Caesar basically gave Antony some time alone with Caesar's body to mourn before they're basically they're going to bring him out and they're going to address the crowd, and Brutus is going to say, this is why we did this, this is why it had to be done, and these are the justifications for our actions. And then Mark Antony is going to, and then he's going to say, Mark Antony is going to come forward and is going to, just wants to say some things in memory of Caesar also. And it's a really interesting moment. That's a really interesting moment to play, because basically the way it starts out is that the crowd is just horribly angry and and in a rage towards Mark Antony and Caesar, and they're all on Brutus's side. And then Mark Antony comes out and says, "Well, look, I'm not trying to praise Caesar. I'm not gonna say what a great guy he was. I just want to say some things in his memory, and I want to bury him decently. And could you please listen for a moment? Like the what is it? The famous Friends Romans countryman. He's trying to get them to shut up long enough for him to talk at all. Like they're shouting at him, and he's trying to get them to listen. And so this is kind of a moment of calm before the storm, but you see what's coming. So that's the context of this.
Okay.
But one thing I really liked in this speech, because basically the main reason that they killed Caesar was that Julius Caesar was that he was the idea was that he was planning, he was ambitious, he was planning to become a king, and Rome does not have kings, like, period. And if anyone is trying to become a king, it's not just like you're expected. No, you stop this, and if you have to kill him to do that. That's what you do. And so, sorry, lost track for a moment. Oh, and so towards the end of this, Mark Antony says, and Caesar's spirit will in these confines with a monarch's voice cry havoc, which is a military command. And so even in death, Caesar is going to become a king. He is going to be a monarch, and Mark Antony is going to be sure that happens. And it's just an interesting irony to the whole thing. Anyone else? Is this going to be a very short one tonight?
It may well be.
Yeah.
I mean, oh,
Okay,
it
well,
was.
go ahead.
What's really funny about this to me is like, I think it's right before this. Brutus is speaking to Antony, like, who came in there and was like, "What are you guys doing? Why? Oh my God, Julius!" And they're like, kind of give him a friend or foe moment, like, you could always join him on the slab there, buddy. And Brutus says, "Look, Antony, we respect who you are, man. Quote from him is, 'Do not beg your death of us.'" He's like, yeah, we get it. You're upset. We offed your buddy, but we don't have to kill you if you're willing to go along with us.
Which is a very
Should know
gangster, like mafia kind of thing. It's like, yes, we know you're angry. He was. That's the wrong accent. I was going like Russian there.
Oh yeah, da. You're very angry. Yes. The KGB has killed. Don't make KGB you kill too.
I was trying to go Italian, but it went farther east for some reason.
A bit north.
Anyway,
Well, Italian would actually be appropriate for this piece.
there's that too. Although I don't know how close modern Italian is to Latin. I mean, it's obviously closer than us, but
Well, but yeah, I mean, I guess it does show that, the guys that are here, killing Caesar, they really weren't doing it just to be, bloodthirsty jerks. They were you know, honestly had this idea that this needed to be done. Otherwise, they'd be like, "Oh crap, his friend's here, kill him too." Aha! But instead, they let him live. They gave him a chance, and he used that chance to overthrow them.
yeah, it didn't turn out particularly well for them. So, in a minute, little guy. Okay. But
Anthony shows the weakness of democracy, because when the mob rules, whoever best controls the mob controls the power, and the mob isn't generally that hard to sway.
yeah, that's why you have things like bills of rights. That's why those tend to be handy. It
Maybe
doesn't
if
matter.
Maybe if
No,
Rome had
Isaac.
been like a
No.
constitutional republic instead of just a.
Off and on. Off and on, off and on. Again.
In a little bit, pal. Not right now. Sorry, guys. But
Oh, this is dirty.
one second. If you guys want to talk for a minute, I'll be back.
Yeah, so the main reason why I'm not familiar with this one was I did have Shakespeare in college, but I only took the history and comedies. I could have taken not the histories, the comedies and something else. I didn't take the histories one, but instead of the histories one, I took a Chaucer class, and I really regret that because I did not like that class.
Oh, but come on, they've adapted one of the tales, right, for modern television.
Which one's that? Oh, that's something completely different, I think.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure they've just stolen a title and done complete brutality in its name.
Okay, I'm back.
They're carrying the name of Chaucer in vain.
Yeah, I was just telling him that I had taken a Chaucer class instead of the Shakespeare histories class.
So, by the way, Chris, what would you think if I did a Chaucer for one of these and did it in the Middle English, and then I could sound like I'm chanting dark magic?
That was really creepy. With most of the lights off when I was trying to sleep or something, and I just hear chanting coming from the next room. Unintelligible chanting. That sounds almost like normal English, but not quite.
Have you ever heard Middle English, Nate? Have you ever heard it spoken?
Oh, like for 2 seconds.
Okay. Well, I guess it's not even just Middle English; it's also Middle English verse. Um, but anyway, um,
Well, and for me, I had taken Spanish classes. So my default whenever I was like reading something that wasn't quite English was to give it like Spanish inflections. So whenever I would try to read it, it was very strange.
Chaucer with a Mexican accent. One, oh crud! When April showers through the ruta, gringo. Um, but
Stop.
what was
Just Sean, man, you're a talented dude, but yeah, accents don't seem to be your thing.
I don't know. I no. Well, that was I was deliberately trying to put together at that moment. I was trying to put together two things that don't belong together at all: Middle English and a cheap Mexican accent. So, but the what was so getting off of the verse a little bit, but getting to my the video I did for this. This was kind of fun because I got to mix up fake blood. I had an excuse to do that, and which actually is surprisingly easy to do. A decent fake blood with stuff you may already have in the house or can get from the grocery store. So if you watch the video, don't worry. I didn't like sacrifice someone, and that wasn't real blood running down my hands.
I didn't think Anthony had bathed his hands in the blood. I thought that was just Brutus and crew.
Well, it was. I don't. I.
Which is a ballsy move because they're all like, "Yeah, no, come on, bathe your hands in the blood." And we're like, "Yeah, look, all of us bloody-handed dudes, we killed him. Woohoo! Saved y'all from the Empire." And then Anthony's like, "Yeah, mark well these men with blood on their hands because they have done a monumentous thing."
What was
And
well?
like, okay, yeah. And then they figure out later that, crap, we're screwed.
Well, there's also the what is it? There's also an event later in the play, which it turns out is, it's hard to say with this kind of thing. It's hard to say if it actually happened, but what we can say is this comes from an actual history, from like a source from relatively nearby that's actually recounting the events, where they mix up a poet named Cinna for one of the conspirators named Cinna, and they carry the mob grabs this guy and carries him off to kill him. Which, if they only had single names at the time, that seems like that could be disturbingly common.
Well, again, the mob ain't real bright.
What's anyway?
Or maybe the guy just wasn't a very good poet.
You know what? We're looking to kill somebody named Senna. This guy he sucks.
Yeah, we've been waiting for an excuse.
Yeah. We dismembered the wrong guy. Dang.
It's Vogon level poetry. What's the ode on a lump of putty I found in my armpit on a summer morning. Although that's not Vogon. I forget who that is. Who that's supposed to be in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If I'm pretty sure Chris got that. I don't know. Nate, or
Yes.
have you read those?
And there
I'm reading that.
and there's also in the We Free Men by Terry Pratchett, they have the Gonagals, who are basically really terrible poets with bagpipes that weaponize it against their enemies.
Okay. Well, see, I was trying to think if there's any other specific thing I wanted to hit, and I think we kind of covered it. So this might be Chris, Nate, anything else you want to put in on?
Nope.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're just going to have a relatively short one tonight, and nothing particularly wrong with that. I'd rather have short but saying something the entire time rather than dragging out for an hour, but nobody knows why the last 30 minutes are there. So we will close off for tonight, and thank you for joining me. And